Well, things are stampeding faster than you can even blink. It's hard to get all the information out that's going on in the world as far as prophetic events. My friend Jay Shelton sent me a little clip of an article, and this is going to have to do with the fact that King Charles III just knighted Rabbi Ephraim Mirvis, and I've talked about him in the prior King Charles videos and how he is going to be right there staying in Clarence House in King Charles' estate the night before the coronation ceremony on May 6th. Also, Rishi Sunak and Rabbi Mirvis plan to attend the 75th birthday party of Israel, and King Charles III happened to be born on November 14th, exactly 6 months after Israel was born. They were born in the same year, 1948, and I believe that the Bible is saying that that is the generation that shall not pass away till all these things be fulfilled. In other words, they're going to make him the last earthly king to restore the Davidic dynasty. And this is setting the stage, this news that Jay sent me. So I found another article about it here, and it said, according to a statement released by the UK Cabinet Office on Friday, King Charles III bestowed the knighthood, one of the country's highest honors, on British Chief Rabbi Rav Ephraim Mirvis. In the 2023 New Year honors, Rabbi Mirvis was named Knight Commander of the Order of the British Empire for his major achievements to the Jewish community, to interfaith relations and education, according to the statement. So he's a big time person of interfaith relations. So that's setting the stage. Mirvis responded to the news with, "I am incredibly honored and genuinely humbled by this prize. Receiving this honor from His Majesty the King in his first year as our monarch will be very emotional." In 2005, Queen Elizabeth II knighted Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, Zell, which means he's passed away and they're honoring his memory. That's what Zell does, is it honors the dead. And he was Rabbi Mirvis's predecessor. So Jonathan Sachs has passed away. Rabbi Mirvis took over the position. JNS.org reported on this story. UK Chief Rabbi Ephraim Mirvis knighted by King Charles III. Mirvis was honored in recognition of his significant services to the Jewish community, to interfaith relations, and to education. January 1st, 2023, United Kingdom Chief Rabbi Ephraim Mirvis was appointed Knight Commander of the Order of the British Empire in the 2023 New Year honors, according to a statement released Friday by the UK Cabinet Office. Mirvis was given the designation by King Charles III in recognition of his significant services to the Jewish community, to the interfaith relations and education. "I am enormously honored and deeply humbled by this award," Mirvis said in a statement, adding, "It will be particularly moving for me to receive this award from His Majesty the King in his first year as our monarch." The announcement noted that Mirvis has been Chief Rabbi of the United Hebrew Congregations of the Commonwealth since 2013 and a pioneer of interfaith activity, initiating Jewish-Muslim community engagement projects and creating the In Good Faith program in partnership with Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby. Mirvis addresses global events with his vision of a Judaism of responsibility, intervening, for example, on the plight of Uyghur Muslims, the only such intervention by a global faith leader. He has been an advocate for greater inclusivity in Orthodox Jewish life, appointing Britain's first female halakhic advisor and establishing greater opportunities for female leadership and scholarship, the statement said. In the field of education, the chief rabbi has championed the cause of faith schools and Jewish education and issued a guide on the well-being of LGBT plus pupils in Orthodox Jewish schools, the first of its kind anywhere in the world, it added. The 2023 honors list was the first approved by Charles following the death of Queen Elizabeth II in September. At the time, Mirvis released a video message praising the Queen, whom he said embodied the most noble values of British society. Throughout her extraordinary reign, she conducted herself with grace, dignity, and humility, and was a global role model for distinguished leadership and selfless devotion to society. In an ever-changing world, she was a rock of stability and a champion of timeless values, he added. Every week in synagogue, we have prayed for her welfare, well-being, and wisdom, and she never let us down. The Johannesburg-born Mirvis moved to Israel in 1973 and studied at Yeshiva Karim B. Yavna and Yeshivat Har Etzion in Elon Shut in Gush Etzion. He then studied at Makan Ariel in Jerusalem from 1978 to 1980 and received his rabbinic ordination there. As chief rabbi of Ireland and before the opening of an Israeli embassy in the country, he represented Israel's interest at the government level and in the media. Mirvis's predecessor, the late Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, was knighted by Queen Elizabeth II in 2005. And the Queen was kind of funny when she knighted Jonathan Sacks. She made this comment, it was from the Passover Seder, and she said, "Why is this knight different than all other knights?" referring to knighting him. So it was kind of a hilarious little quip that she made. I thought it was kind of cute. The Jewish Telegraph Agency reported by David Klein, January 3rd, 2023, that King Charles III meets Rabbi Ephraim Mirvis during a reception with faith leaders at Buckingham Palace in London that happened on September 16th of 2022. And it says down below, reporting from Italy, Rabbi Ephraim Mirvis, chief rabbi of the United Hebrew Congregations of the British Commonwealth, commonly referred to as the United Kingdom's chief rabbi, can now add a sir to his title. Mirvis will be named a Knight Commander of the Order of the British Empire according to King Charles' New Year Honours List. Since 1890, the UK has announced new knighthoods and other chivalric honors only twice a year on New Year's Day and on the birthday of the ruling monarch, which in the past was April 21st for Queen Elizabeth II, but going forward will be November 14th for King Charles III. I am enormously honored and deeply humbled by this award. It will be particularly moving for me to receive this award from His Majesty the King in his first year as our monarch, Mirvis said, according to the Jewish Chronicle. Though Mirvis's most recent predecessors, Jonathan Sacks and Emanuel Jacobowitz, had also received knighthoods during their terms as chief rabbi, the title has not always been given. King Charles' list noted Mirvis's work in the field of interfaith dialogue and his advocacy for Uyghur Muslims suffering under oppressive policies in China. The list also noted Mirvis's efforts to make the Orthodox world more inclusive of women and LGBTQ Jews. He has been an advocate for greater inclusivity in Orthodox Jewish life, appointing Britain's first female halakhic advisor and establishing greater opportunities for female leadership and scholarship, the list noted. In the field of education, The chief rabbi has championed the cause of faith schools and Jewish education and issued a guide on the well-being of LGBTQ pupils in Orthodox Jewish schools, the first of its kind anywhere in the world. Maurice Ostro, vice president of the Council of Christians and Jews, a British volunteer group, said the honor underlines how the establishment has started to recognize the importance of interfaith engagement, as well as the vital contributions of our faith communities and the important role they play in making our country a truly Great Britain. Alongside Mirvis, several other British Jews received honors on the list, including Vernon Bogdaner, a noted political scientist, British ambassador to Ukraine, Melinda Simmons, television presenter Rachel Riley, Julian Lewis, a member of parliament since 1997, and Marie van der Zyl, president of the Board of Deputies of British Jews. This is a true honor and a great surprise. It is a tribute to all the work we do at the Board of Deputies to represent and advocate for our Jewish community, van der Zyl said, according to the Jewish Chronicle. Don't you think it's really interesting that he is like the top rabbi that is all embedded with the interfaith dialogue, the one world religion dialogue, working with the Muslims, elevating them, and we have King Charles III that's also the patron of the mosque in London, and he's all for all of these religions coming together. And of course, at the coronation ceremony, that Rabbi Mirvis is staying at Clarence House the night before the coronation and sleeping there, and he'll be there at the coronation when King Charles III supposedly in the sacred ceremony pledges to be defender of the faith of the Protestant Church, the gospel of Jesus Christ. But as I told you in my last video, from his statements, from his Christmas speech, he does intend to be not only defender of the faith, but also defender of faiths in general. So will he just change those words up and say he'll be defender of faiths, like they said that he could possibly be doing? And that's what he said in the Christmas speech, just included everybody and said that they were, even if they were non-believers, or if they were people of no faith, is how he put it, that they were all part of this light of Jesus Christ, and you know, all of these other religions, they're all of the same light. Well, Satan disguises himself as light, and he deceives millions and billions of people, and this is how he's going to do it. Make all these people believe that they're all worshiping the one God, and they aren't. So remember what I said in my last video, that the Bible says, what does light have to do with darkness? You're either of the light or you're of the darkness. And these people that are non-believers, they don't have the light because they don't have Jesus Christ in their life, which gives them the Holy Spirit, that gives them the light that of revelation, the light that shines in the darkness, and the darkness can never put it out. So this is a deceiving, smooth words, and you got to be careful of people that speak smooth words, because this is what Satan did in the Garden of Eden to try to make everybody, you know, I mean Adam and Eve, I didn't mean everybody, I meant that he deceived them and made them believe that they wouldn't die if they ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So we don't have anything in common with the dark, in the darkness, or non-believers, or people that are just the Klaus Schwabs of this world, so to speak. So all of this is lining up with the one world religion, the one world government with a king at the head of the whole thing. And Israel making King Charles III eventually the last earthly king, which they believe through his genealogy is a descendant of King David, and that they will set him upon Jacob's pillow stone, the coronation where he's anointed, and I believe that they will accept him as the last earthly king. And then, of course, Jesus comes down and he lands on all of it, shatters it, because he's the rock that comes down from heaven, and crushes the last bit of mystery Babylon the Great, which is Israel. And I showed you in all the videos. Please go watch that, because it was divine revelation from the scriptures, not any opinion of mine or assumptions of mine. And now I can see how, this is going to be fulfilled, and Israel has that last 7 years to fulfill, and the wrath of God is going to be poured out. And of course, it's going to be poured out on a city, and I believe that city's going to be Jerusalem. I believe there's going to be a remnant that's saved that will turn and believe the truth of who their true king is. But this last bit of information was by Jenny Fraser, January 5th, 2025, which is today. It said in the jc.com, "Arise, Sir Ephraim, meet the man behind the New Year's knighthood, a lover of jokes, songs, spurs. Ephraim Mirvis is described as warm and principled. These are dark and difficult times, but this week there was a warm glow about Anglo Jewry. There could have been few more delightful ways to kick off the new year than the news that Chief Rabbi Ephraim Mirvis was being awarded a knighthood, and the JC, along with the community, congratulates him." And that doesn't stand for Jesus Christ, by the way. That's the Jewish community. But amid the rejoicing over his award for services to the Jewish community, to interfaith relations and education, the rabbi himself has been modest about the publicity celebrating the honor. According to those who know him well and work closely with him, the new chief rabbi, Sir Ephraim Mirvis, is more at home singing and telling jokes than standing on ceremony. His friends and colleagues speak of someone who has a wicked sense of humor, is a devastating mimic, and a big sports fan. These qualities came together on one occasion when he entertained the BBC presenter Edward Storton in a rendition of Grace After Meals to the tune of the Match of the Day theme. His love of football, and in particular Tottenham Hotspur, comes to say his friends from his time growing up in Cape Town in the late 1960s. One day his father, Rabbi Lionel Mirvis, took his 3 sons, Howard, Jonathan, and the teen then known as Errol, to a friendly between a South African side and the visiting team, which happened to be Tottenham. That was the day his love for Spurs was born. Straddling different worlds has always been his defining feature, past and present. Today he is well known as a bridge between Orthodox Judaism and the wider Jewish community, an approach that reflects values cultivated much earlier in his life. According to one of his oldest friends from South Africa, businessman Sean Carroll, Cape Town in those days was not the most observant of communities, but I can't remember a time when my friend wasn't going to be a rabbi. His whole goal was not to achieve a title or fame, but to bring people closer to Judaism. Even as a youngster, he was outstanding and delightful, Mr. Carroll added. He was tremendously fun and never sanctimonious. There was no pomposity. It was just a pleasant pleasure to be with him. Mr. Carroll and Rabbi Mirvis grew up together, attending the Herzliya School in Cape Town and also the Zionist youth movement B'nai Akiva. As a teenage pupil, Ephraim Mirvis was already exploring ways to encourage people to get closer to Judaism. He led a daily minya at school, something not made easy by the school authorities. And despite the fact that Herzliya school was indeed a Jewish school, it took a campaign by the young Mirvis to persuade the school to sell only kosher food in the tuck shop. After high school, he left South Africa for Israel to attend first Yeshivat Karim Yavna and then 2 other yeshivot before qualifying as a rabbi. Initially, Mr. Carroll did not accompany him. He said, "I went to the University of Cape Town for a year. Then I realized I wanted to learn more. I thought I could go to yeshiva for a few weeks in between my first and second years." The problem was that the new yeshiva students were finding it difficult to settle in and secure study partners for the few weeks of their stay. But his old friend helped out. It turned out that the future Rabbi Mirvis was running a hospitality scheme for new yeshiva students from South Africa. Boys would be met at the airport and brought back by taxi to yeshiva, where not only a study partner had been arranged, but also you would have company for meals so you wouldn't be by yourself. Once at the yeshiva, where in the end he stayed for a year, Mr. Carroll soon found that his old friend had persuaded the yeshiva authorities to allow a Thursday night get-together for the South African students. This very convivial, warm society featured copious amounts of toasted cheese and a shear from Mr. Mirvis, as he then was. Rabbi Mirvis is the son and grandson of a rabbi and a reverend, though Sir Ephraim has said that his father, originally an engineer, began working in the rabbinate only after the company he worked for closed as a result of opposition to South African apartheid. His late mother, Frida, was principal of the Athlone Teachers Training College during apartheid, at the time the only college for colored teachers of preschool children in South Africa. Sorry, that's what the article says. Rabbi Mirvis received his rabbinic ordination from Macon Ariel, Jerusalem, 1978 to 80, and gained a BA in Education and Classical Hebrew from the University of South Africa. He also received a teaching qualification from the Yaakov Herzog Teachers College in Israel. This year, 2023, marks the chief rabbi's decade in the role. It was a mark of the esteem in which he is held that the then Prince Charles attended his inauguration at St. John's Wood Synagogue in northwest London. Their relationship has remained a warm one. The new king has invited Sir Ephraim and his wife Valerie to stay overnight at Clarence House, that's King Charles III's home, on the eve of the coronation on Saturday, May 6th, to avoid them having to break Shabbat. And last year, after the Queen died, Buckingham Palace brought forward a Friday multi-faith commemoration event, again to accommodate Chief Rabbi Mirvis. So they're accommodating this one specific rabbi with this interfaith situation. Michael Goldstein, president of the United Synagogue, spends more time with Chief Rabbi Mirvis than most in the community. The two speak regularly, and he said he is very warm and also very principled. I think I have been most impressed by the stand he took against Jeremy Corbyn. It was unprecedented for a chief rabbi to speak out in the way that he did. In November 2019, a couple of weeks before the general election, Chief Rabbi Mirvis wrote in the Times about a new poison that had engulfed the Labour Party. He added, "It is not my place to tell any person how they should vote. I regret being in this situation at all. I simply pose the question, what will the result of this election say about the moral compass of our country?" When the 12th of December arrived, he said he asked every person to vote with their conscience. Now he's talking about the elections in Israel. Jonathan Goldstein, former chair of the Jewish Leadership Council, is a longtime associate. He said, "I think the main thing about him is his humanity. He has a deep concern for people across all faiths, and he has a desire to be a facilitator and a conciliator while always being very clear about the tradition which he upholds and the values he represents." It is, of course, not Rabbi Mirvis's first role as chief rabbi. He was previously chief rabbi of Ireland from 1985 to 1992, after serving as rabbi of the Dublin Hebrew congregation. In a sort of rabbi go-round, he succeeded both Lord Sachs' predecessor, Lord Jacobowitz, in Ireland, and Lord Sachs himself as rabbi of the Western Marble Arch Synagogue in London, 1992 to 96, before becoming senior rabbi at Finchley United Synagogue, known as Kinloss, in 1996, a position which he held until becoming chief rabbi in 2013. Between Lord Jacobowitz and Rabbi Mirvis as chief rabbi of Ireland, there was one of Rabbi Mirvis's closest colleagues, Rabbi David Rosen. It's kind of funny, my mother grew up with Rosens. Rabbi Rosen, now the American Jewish Committee's International Director of Interreligious Affairs, has known the Mirvis family since serving as a colleague of Rabbi Lionel Mirvis in Cape Town. Rabbi Rosen said that Sir Ephraim strongly resembled his late remarkable mother Frida, both emotionally and physically, and praised her family, the Katz family, as one of the mainstays of South African Jewry. From her, Rabbi Rosen suggested Rabbi Mirvis drew his sincerity, openness towards others, and acceptance of diversities. That's very important because there are very few deeply Orthodox rabbis who are open to diversity and pluralism. Obviously, he's had to learn to be a politician, to steer a fine line between being authentic and true to one's principles, but also being in a representational position, which is not so simple. He also applauded the Chief Rabbi's 2018 Guide to Jewish Schools as to how to treat LGBTQ pupils, a document believed to be the first of its kind in the Jewish world. He said, "I think Rabbi Mirvis has shown remarkable spine in negotiating with and standing up to different elements of the community." This week, Rabbi Mirvis defended the LGBTQ community in an interview on Israeli TV amid a stream of homophobic comments from leading Israeli rabbis and lawmakers after the Knesset elected its first openly gay speaker. It's probably impossible for most chief rabbis to have an off switch, but U.S. President Michael Goldstein in particular has seen Sir Ephraim in more laid-back mode. I don't know why it says U.S. President Michael Goldstein. I guess because he's the president of the Jewish community. We were crossing Tottenham High Road to get to the Spurs ground, and he had his yarmulke on. He turned to me and said, "Is this a cap or a yarmulke situation?" I said, "It's up to you. It's a relaxed atmosphere." So he said, "Fine," and we walked in, and the first person we ran into was a young guy with a big black kippah. The chief rabbi looked at Mr. Goldstein. We both just giggled. Well, the whole purpose of a yarmulke and a kippah on the back of your head is to remind you that there's a God above you. It's not supposed to be some sports team printed on it. It's supposed to remind you of God and keep God in your mind at all times. And actually to help you to keep from sinning, because if you remember that there's a God above you, then hopefully you won't be in a sinful situation. And the last article, the clip that Jay had sent me was unitedwithisrael.org, so I looked that one up and I found a little bit more than that little clip, and it was written January 3rd of 2023, and it could repeat some of the stuff I stated in the first articles, but I'm trying to grab and glean things that are new. So it says Chief Rabbi Ephraim Mirvis was awarded a knighthood as commander of the British Empire. That was by Elijah Minor staff. Britain's chief rabbi was among several Jewish dignitaries to feature on the first New Year honors list assembled by King Charles III, who ascended to the throne following the death of his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, last September. Chief Rabbi Ephraim Mirvis was awarded a knighthood as commander of the British Empire in recognition of his significant services to the Jewish community, to interfaith relations, and to education. So do you think it's going to be too hard for them, after King Charles III has knighted him and given him this honor, that they won't turn around and give King Charles III the honor of sitting upon a restored throne of the Davidic dynasty as he sits on Jacob's pillow stone at his coronation? I'm not saying that on the day of the coronation he becomes Israel's king. I'm saying that he becomes the king on that day, and at another date they could appoint and anoint him for that position. It doesn't have to be on the coronation day. But it says, the 66-year-old Mirvis, who was born in South Africa, will now be known as Sir Ephraim, said he had been enormously honored and deeply humbled to receive a knighthood. It will be particularly moving for me to receive this award from His Majesty the King in his first year as our monarch, Mirvis said in a statement. This is repeated stuff. Mirvis became chief rabbi in 2013, replacing Jonathan Sachs, who also received the knighthood. The president of the Board of Deputies of British Jews, Marie van der Zyl, her predecessor Jonathan Arkush, 6 Holocaust survivors, and the TV presenter Rachel Riley were also recognized on the list. Riley was awarded for raising Holocaust awareness and opposing anti-Semitism. Smajo Besso, an educator at the Holocaust Memorial Day Trust, was awarded the Order of the British Empire, OBE, for services to genocide education and commemoration. Lily Ebert, a 99-year-old survivor of the Holocaust, was made a member of the Order of the British Empire, known as MBE, for her services to Holocaust education. Other Jews to be honored in the New Year list included Mark Gardner, the Chief Executive of Defense Organization, the Community Security Trust, CST, Linda Rosenblatt, Chair of the World Jewish Relief Connections Committee, and Rabbi David Kale, the faith leader of the Belfast Synagogue in Northern Ireland. Since Rishi Sunak, the Hindu Prime Minister of the UK, is going to be participating in Israel's 75th birthday celebrations, about 8 days after King Charles III is anointed as king on May 6th on Shabbat, which is Saturday, they plan to be in Israel. I had already reported that now the knighted Sir Ephraim, Rabbi Mirvis, he is going to be attending the ceremonies in Israel for Israel's birthday. And remember that Rishi Sunak is going to be there celebrating, so why would King Charles III not also go to Israel, since the rabbis have been asking for him to come there? That would be the perfect time on Israel's 75th birthday for him to show up there right after he's coronated king as the anointed one, And we know that Messiah means anointed one. So it all falls into place. And remember that Rabbi Berger, the one who takes care of the supposed King David's tomb, which is not King David's tomb, but a diversion, well, he has already commissioned a crown for the Messiah to be made. As we know, that happened quite a while ago. And he also had a Torah scroll written to give to the king as a gift with the crown when he comes to Israel. So who do you think they're going to give that to? 20 guesses. I bet you can guess it in one guess at this point. This one world religion is setting up. This rabbi is going to be used as an interfaith collaborator, bringing Islam, Hinduism, all of these religions together. And King Charles III is going to say that he's going to defend all faiths. This is going to be a great apostasy, a great turning away from the one true God of Israel, Messiah Yeshua. The only way back into the Garden of Eden-like state is through him, because he reversed the curse of death in the place of Eden, and he brings us back to the place of Eden in Jerusalem to dwell with him forever. That's why Jesus is coming down in Jerusalem from the heavens, and his feet are going to land on the Mount of Olives, and they're going to split in the middle. And I believe the land will be raised up where the Temple Mount, Holy Mount Moriah, will be raised up. And everything that's buried in the ground, the gates that are buried in the ground, will come up. So this is incredibly stampeding forward in a way that I couldn't have seen this coming, this knighthood of this rabbi. So what are the benefits of being knighted by the king or Queen Elizabeth II? Getting a knighthood gives the recipient global recognition for their outstanding service. It's good for the country and our profile in the world, and it will improve their standing and profile within British society. If you're British, they will get the Sir or Dame title that's so richly coveted worldwide. The very top rank in the order is a GBE, a Knight or Dame Grand Cross, but these are very rare. So how did the Queen choose who gets knighted when she was Queen? A knighthood, in the female equivalent, a damehood, is an award given by the Queen, now the King, to an individual for a major long-term contribution in any activity, usually at a national or international level. Men who are knighted become Knight Commander of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire, KBE, and shall be called Sir, while women become Dame Commander of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire, DBE, and get the title Dame. While there's no set time of year that someone can be nominated for the knighthood, the Queen usually bestowed the honor as part of the New Year's honors list. People can be nominated for knighthood, although the government reportedly helps the Queen or the King decide who the best choice is to be knighted, depending on the level of knighthood. And what are the levels of knighthood? Under the British monarchy, there are 6 levels of knighthood. 6 is an interesting number that can be doled out by the Queen or King. The most noble Order of the Garter is the highest rank and one of the oldest ranks of chivalry in the world. The most ancient and noble Order of the Thistle is the highest rank of chivalry awarded in Scotland. The most honorable Order of the Bath is primarily given out for military service, while the Order of St. Michael and St. George is primarily awarded for service regarding foreign relations. Queen Elizabeth gives the Royal Victorian Order on a personal basis, and the commonly known Order of the British Empire is handed out on a public basis. The Order of the Garter and the Order of the Thistle are the only two instances where a female being knighted is given the title lady instead of dame. This is a question that popped up quite a bit in 2015 when Queen Elizabeth decided to knight her grandson, Prince Harry. In short, the Queen decided to honor Harry for his service to the monarchy while he was in the military. However, instead of the Order of the Bath, Harry was made Knight Commander of the Royal Victorian Order in a private ceremony at Buckingham Palace. Public figures have been knighted in the past for their contributions to the UK, whether it's through bringing money to the nation or representing it favorably. This is why well-known musicians such as Paul McCartney and Elton John have received the OBE. This practice of knighting celebrities has, of course, come under scrutiny in the past when Prime Minister Tony Blair added Rolling Stones frontman Mick Jagger to the honors list in the early 2000s. The Queen actually refused to give him the honor because of his anti-establishment views. Prince Charles was tasked with knighting Jagger instead. So he obviously goes against the norm. It says, has Queen Elizabeth ever knighted an animal? It says she hasn't, but that doesn't mean it will never happen. There's only one animal to ever have been knighted anywhere in the world, a king penguin named Niels Olav, who received Norwegian knighthood in 2008. Being that the Queen was more relaxed with certain royal rules and regulation as she got older, it wouldn't be too terribly surprising if she knighted an animal. Well, now she's passed away. So it says even if it was one of her corgis. Now, I was talking about Rabbi David Rosen, and he's one of the interfaith leaders, if not the top leader. And Rabbi Mirvis is interconnected with him. And Rabbi Rosen has met with several popes. And he takes a peacemaker role. And his full name is David Shlomo, which is Solomon, Rosen. KSG CBE, born 1951, is the former chief rabbi of Ireland from 1979 to 85 and currently serves as the American Jewish Committee's International Director of Interreligious Affairs. From 2005 until 2009, he headed the International Jewish Committee for Interreligious Consultations, known as the IJCIC, the broad-based coalition of Jewish organizations and denominations that represents world Jewry in its relations with other world religions. Before being appointed Chief Rabbi of Ireland, he was the senior rabbi of the largest Orthodox Jewish congregation in South Africa, the Green and Sea Point Hebrew Congregation, Cape Town, and served as a judge on the Cape Beth Din Rabbinic Court. So the Sanhedrin wants to become the world court, remember? And he just happened to serve as a judge on the Cape Beth Din Rabbinic Court. He's also a board member of the Brussels-based organization, CEJI, a Jewish contribution to an inclusive Europe that promotes a Europe of diversity and respect. And he's an alumnus of Yeshivat Har Etzion in Israel. Based in Jerusalem, he also serves on the chief rabbinate of Israel's Commission for Interreligious Relations. See how all of this is coming together? He's an international president of Religions for Peace and serves as the only Jewish representative on the board of directors of the Chesed Dialogue Center, which is the Interfaith Center, established in 2012 by King Abdullah of Saudi Arabia, together with the governments of Austria and Spain and the Vatican. He is honorary president of the International Council of Christians and Jews and serves on the board of World Religious Leaders for the Elijah Interfaith Institute. the World Council of Religious Leaders. And that, if I'm remembering right, the Elijah Interfaith Institute were the ones who wanted to go up to the Egyptian Mount Sinai during the COP27 events, and where they broke those 10 commandments and said this is not good enough. And the guy had the audacity to do that, and then they're setting up their green rules and their climate change rules. So that's very interesting that he serves on the board of the World Religious Leaders for the Elijah Interfaith Institute and the World Council of Religious Leaders. But you have to know more, because I told you that the royal cipher is the 666 of the king, and the cipher equals 0, and they want to get down to net zero, and they want to change the farming, which King Charles III has already worked on with the farmers in England. Now, Rabbi Rosen is the honorary president of the International Jewish Vegetarian and Ecological Society. He's a vigorous critic of factory farming, noting that much of the current treatment of animals in the livestock trade makes the consumption of meat produced through such cruel conditions halakhically unacceptable as the product of illegitimate means. In addition, he has urged that the waste of natural resources and the damage done to the environment by meat production, hope you caught that, make a compelling Jewish moral argument for adopting a vegan diet. He has written extensively on the wide variety of interfaith issues. So he is big time friends with Sir Rabbi Ephraim Mirvis. The chief rabbi of the UK, Mirvis received the Jerusalem Prize for Education in the Diaspora in 1990 on behalf of the Stratford Jewish Schools from the President of Israel, who was Chaim Herzog. In 2015, he was awarded the Freedom of the London Borough of Barnet. He has received honorary doctorates from Truro College and Middlesex University. Mirvis was appointed Knight Commander of the Order of the British Empire in the 2023 New Year Honors for services to the Jewish community, the interfaith relations, and the education. He's married to Zimbabwe-born Valerie Kaplan in Israel. They have 4 sons, Hillel, Daniel, Noam, and Itan, and 12 grandchildren. So I wanted to tell you about Rabbi Mirvis's friend, Rabbi David Rosen, that I just was speaking about. A little more information about him is AJC's International Director of Interreligious Affairs, has been advancing understanding and good relations between religious communities for more than 40 years, from the time he served as rabbi of the largest Orthodox Jewish congregation in South Africa during his tenure as Chief Rabbi of Ireland, and throughout the last more than 30 years based in Jerusalem. In addition to interreligious representation and education, his work involves mediation and peace building, and he is heavily involved in multi-religious engagement on ecological issues. Among the various awards and recognitions he has received, Rabbi Rosen was granted a papal knighthood in 2005 for his contribution to Jewish-Catholic reconciliation, and in 2010 he was made a CBE, a Commander of the British Empire, by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II for his work promoting interfaith understanding and cooperation. And it might interest you to know this too, that Rabbi David Rosen is the Jewish representative among the 9 leaders from the 5 major world religions who make up the board of directors of the King Abdullah bin Abdulaziz International Center for Interreligious and Intercultural Dialogue. In February of 2020, they were received by King Salman in his palace in Saudi Arabia. So one of these kings is going to be the one that's put upon the throne. I believe it's leading to King Charles III. Now you have to hear this part. It says, now I was part of another landmark occasion on my way to Riyadh as one of the 9 governors of the King Abdullah International Center for Interreligious and Intercultural Dialogue, established in 2012 by Saudi Arabia, Austria, and Spain together with the Holy See as an intergovernmental center based in Vienna. This group is governed by a board of representatives from 5 faiths. And he said, I'm the sole Jewish member of this body. The center is the outcome of the vision of the late Saudi King Abdullah bin Abdulaziz, who convened a pan-Islamic gathering in Mecca in 2008 to support his initiative for global interreligious engagement. He then traveled to the Vatican to gain the Pope's support and subsequently convened gatherings in Madrid and at the United Nations. The center conducts a remarkable array of programs, including training young religious leaders and activists from a wide spectrum of religious communities in the skills of dialogue. As a result, hundreds of future leaders have been empowered in this field and have become members of an international interreligious community. He says, for me, this group has also provided the opportunity to engage Muslim leaders from the Arab world, especially Saudi Arabia, whom he would not have been able to meet otherwise. Most of them had never met a Jew before, let alone a rabbi. This article ends with the entry of Saudi Arabia into the interfaith world as pioneered by the previous monarch, King Abdullah bin Abdulaziz, is not seen by the kingdom's authorities simply as being valuable for Saudi Arabia's image or as a tool of soft power to help win friends and influence people in the West. It is also seen by Saudi leaders as part and parcel of an internal transformation that's meant to change mindsets within the kingdom in order to prepare it for the new era. So this is the friend of Sir Rabbi Ephraim Mirvis, and both were the chief rabbis of Ireland at one point. And so he was hosted by King Abdullah bin Abdulaziz International Center for Interreligious and Intercultural Dialogue, and that was in 2020 at King Salman's palace. That Rabbi David Rosen was there, and one of the leaders of the interfaith dialogue. And by the way, Barbra Streisand's mother's genealogical line comes from a line of Rosens. So, makes me wonder if they're all connected. And my mother grew up with some Rosens in their neighborhood. Now, not to go on and on about this, but in the Times of Israel, this was reported March 16th of 2017. In historic move, Trump envoy hosts interfaith meeting. At summit with Jason Greenblatt, Jewish, Muslim, and Christian clergymen vow to advance peace and to reject all incitement to violence. It says, he said Thursday's meeting was the first time the council had gathered since 2013, though one member, Rabbi David Rosen, said this was incorrect. At the same time, Rosen, an interfaith advisor to the chief rabbinate, said Greenblatt's initiative to meet with the council was historic in that it marked the first time in recent memory that a senior U.S. administration official engaged in peacemaking efforts, asking to meet with the religious leaders. Now, this other article in the Jerusalem Post says this: Itamar Ben-Gvir, who defended Benzi Gubstein, the head of the radical anti-assimilation group Lahava, after he led violent protests against Christian and Messianic events, and also once said that Israel should expel all of its Christian citizens. Moreover, Ben-Gvir, a lawyer, defended the man convicted of setting fire to the Church of the Loaves and Fishes in 2015. And this was in an article posted December 12th, 2022. Netanyahu faces warning from top Christian leader, and it said, incoming, now in place, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu failed to show up at a key gathering of evangelicals. Rabbi David Rosen lives in Jerusalem, and his globe-trotting path has included being chief rabbi of Ireland and senior rabbi of South Africa's biggest Orthodox Jewish congregation. Basically the same stuff that Rabbi Ephraim Mirvis has also been in those positions. He was honored by the Pope for his bridge building between religions and made a commander of the Order of the British Empire by Queen Elizabeth II. But he is also well known here in the local interfaith community for his current role as director of the American Jewish Committee's International Interreligious Relations. The AJC is a not-for-profit organization